Today, we're diving into the fight against cancer, using a really powerful essay by Rivera Diaz. It's a story that's all about finding, honest hope in the face of one of our biggest challenges.
So the whole story really kicks off with just one word. Don's father, he had cirrhosis of the liver, but when he talked to people about it, he'd say he had cancer. And it wasn't because he was confused. It was because the word cancer, well, people got it. It had a weight, a seriousness that the clinical term just didn't. It made people really stop and listen.
And that one experience, it shaped everything for Don. It taught him that disease doesn't really care about our neat little labels. And this awareness just followed him, through his work as a teacher, where he watched one of his own students fight this disease, and in his own family when his great aunt got her diagnosis. It's a thread that honestly connects so many of us.
Now here's where things get really interesting, because this story, it just shatters our assumptions about what it means to be healthy. You'd think, right, that if you're in peak physical shape, you've got the ultimate shield. But as Don saw firsthand with a world champion MMA fighter, it was this devastating reminder that cancer just doesn't play by our rules. Meet Andre the Pitbull Arlovsky. We're talking about a former UFC heavyweight champion, literally one of the toughest human beings on the planet. And he fought cancer not once, not twice, but 3 times. And get this, in February of 2026, at 47 years old, just days after having surgery to remove a tumor, he got back in the octagon and won a heavyweight title. Just incredible. So, what's the takeaway here? It's that spirit. It's that fire. Arlovsky's story isn't just about surviving. It's about actively choosing to live, about a mindset that just refused to be defined by a diagnosis. It's just a stunning, stunning example of human resilience. And this is where the story pivots and becomes a challenge for all of us. Arlovsky said that whole experience taught him to really listen to his body. So here's the question I want you to think about. If a world-class athlete, a guy whose entire job is to push through pain, learned that he had to stop and listen to the signals, are you?
Okay, so let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture for a second. To really get a handle on the fight against cancer in 2026, you kind of have to hold two almost contradictory ideas in your head at the same time: the sheer scale of the problem and the reality of the progress we've made. On the one hand, you have this daunting number from the American Cancer Society: 2.1 million new cases expected this year alone. That's a huge number. But on the other hand, the overall 5-year survival rate has hit 70%. That's a historic high. You have to look at both of those truths to really understand where we stand. And behind all that progress, there's this number, 4.8 million. And I want to be really clear, that's not just a statistic. That's 4.8 million people. Parents, children, friends, neighbors, people who are here today because of the incredible advances we've made since 1991. Every single one of those is a victory we should be shouting about. And you can see this progress so clearly when you look at some of the absolute toughest cases. I'm talking about metastatic cancers, the ones that spread. They used to be considered a death sentence, but now survival rates have climbed dramatically. For things like myeloma and metastatic melanoma, the rates have literally more than doubled. Those percentages, that's real life-changing hope for thousands and thousands of families.
But we also have to be really honest here. This progress isn't reaching everyone equally. Lung cancer is still the biggest killer. And because of systemic barriers to getting good care, communities like Black Americans and American Indian and Alaska Native populations, well, they face much higher mortality rates. And that's not just a cancer problem. That's a justice problem.
So with all that in mind, what can we actually do about it? This is where it gets really empowering, because there are levers you can pull every single day to fight back and lower your own risk.
And look, this isn't just some nice idea. It's backed up by hard data. The American Cancer Society says that simple, consistent habits can make a real, measurable difference. We're talking a 10 to 20% lower risk of diagnosis. That is a huge advantage you can give yourself.
So what does that actually look like day to day? Don boils it down to 4 key habits. 1. Move your body. It doesn't have to be a crazy workout, just move. 2. Eat with intention. Think clean, anti-inflammatory foods. 3, and this is so important, listen for signals from your body. Early detection is without a doubt our single most powerful tool. And 4, stay informed. Knowledge really is power in this fight.
Which, it brings us right back to where we started. All of these stories, all of these numbers and habits, they all point to one powerful, central truth about where we are in this fight right here, right now.
Let's just be clear. Let's be honest. We haven't cured cancer. The disease is still here. It's a cruel anomaly that can affect any one of us, even the strongest.
But that is not the end of the story, because the human spirit, our resilience, our progress, our absolute will to live and to fight for one another, that is also undefeated.
So what can you do this week? Let's make it real simple. Go schedule that checkup you know you've been putting off. Swap just one processed meal for something clean and fresh. Or maybe, just maybe, the most important thing of all, call someone you love and ask them how they're really doing. Because staying in this fight is something we absolutely have to do together.